Hello everyone, the Army of Otters here, and welcome back to the Unexplored Mojave. Today we're going to be looking at the Powdered Ganger camps. This is recommended to me by HK Nick, or HK Nike, I think. Anyways, this was a good idea, I thought, because there's several Powdered Ganger camps that we can investigate and learn more about. This group, which escaped from the NCR Correctional Facility and is terrorizing the southwestern Mojave. So let's dive into it. Alright, so the first location is the Powder Ganger Camp South. Now at this location there will be no Powder Gangers unless you start the quest I Fought the Law from Eddie inside the NCR Correctional Facility. However, we do have a note here that reads, some of the fellas farther north are trying to organize. We're starting to think it's a good idea. Got to pull resources if we're going to survive out here. Sure, you've noticed the decline in travelers. If they're getting wise, so should we. So perhaps these guys were thinking about joining up with the Powder Gangers in Vault 19? Not for sure. Then we have some graffiti and a usable bed, and then some cooking supplies, but really not a whole lot here. But we do have some pretty good views of the surrounding area and the NCR Correctional Facility, so I thought it was a pretty interesting place and a good place to take in the scenes of the Mojave. Next, after being attacked by Legion assassins, we move to the East Powder Ganger Camp. Here, this camp is occupied by several Powder Gangers, and since I'm vilified by the Powder Gangers, I decided to kill them from a distance using my anti-material rifle, which might be a little bit overkill, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. There's several Powder Ganger mines around, so be careful on your approach, or you can just walk through it as I do and let Raoul and my dog take the brunt of the explosion. However, there's not a whole lot here. We do have some ammunition crates and some, obviously, dead Powder Gangers that we can loot. Also, on a more interesting note, we have what appears to be a Brahmin corpse inside the refrigerator, and there's also some Rad-X inside of the refrigerator. There's some interesting stuff. As you can see, Powder Ganger Camp East is kind of southeast more than it is east, but nonetheless, it has the name East. Now, if we actually go east of the NCR Correctional Facility, we will discover a Powder Ganger camp. So I don't know if this was the original East camp and it was changed later, or what, but we can find a camp inside this cave inside the nearby mountain of the NCR Correctional Facility. However, there's not a lot in here besides two Powder Gangers, and inside this wooden crate, we have a skeleton, and at the bottom of the crate sits a stim pack. So not half a bad find for a new player, possibly. And that's the impression I got out of most of these camps, is it would be pretty good maybe for an early playthrough to collect some XP, collect some weapons, if you're not friendly with the Powder Gangers, of course. Otherwise, you can do some of the quest for the Powder Gangers in the NCR Correctional Facility. Moving on to the Powder Ganger Camp North, we can discover more guys that you saw me kill earlier, and again, a lot of loot. However, something that's quite disappointing is to take anything from these camps is considered stealing and will count against the player's karma. Here we can find yet another note, but this is the same note found at the Powder Ganger Camp South, so I won't read it. Also, I had to admit, this is the first time I noticed that these mines, which keep exploding, are not normal mines. They're actually powder charges that are just kind of like homemade mines made by the Powder Gangers. I wasn't really aware that these existed until this video, so something that I thought was pretty cool. And then here we can see the location of the camp. Now, next to the prison is a billboard, and I just thought this is a very odd placement for a billboard. I don't know how many people were driving by this prison, but thought it was interesting. Near to the north camp is another unmarked Powder Ganger camp. We just have like a trailer, and then there's two Powder Gangers nearby that are pretty easy to kill. Here we can see the effects of the Powder Gangers. We have two dead Crimson Caravan guards, and then one of them is a woman who is naked, so maybe something really bad happened. I mean, at least that's what the game is insinuating. And then we also have a copy of today's position and some ammo inside of the trailer. Now, this camp is located about halfway between Powder Ganger Camp North and Gene Skydiving. Now, I think, at least from my experience, most players would be familiar with Gene Skydiving. It's a place I always visit in my playthroughs, mainly just to pick up a Star Sansat Sarsaparilla bottle cap. But I figured I'd go ahead and showcase it because I don't know when else I would actually really show it in a video. And it is kind of a weird location that I think many players might just, brush over. Next to the skydiving place, we have a completely destroyed house with 2 dressers, but just junk inside. And then we can find a plane which is partially buried, probably belonging to the skydiving facility, which would obviously take people up to go skydiving. So, pretty cool. South of here, then, we can find the Powder Ganger Camp West. And here, I think a lot of players might be familiar with this camp just because it's right on your way between Good Springs and Prim. So, right, if you're following the more traditional New Vegas playthrough, you'll definitely pass through this area. Here on this trailer, I wanted to see if I could fit through this gap, and I eventually could. And again, though, stealing is a thing from the Powder Gangers. I don't know why, because killing them grants you positive karma. And then we can also find a note at this camp which reads, "Not many patrols out here lately," which means not much loot. Our crew is thinking we should make a move soon. Follow the tracks up north, head towards the strip. You in? Ain't on the chain gang anymore, but we still gotta stick together. And here we can see the consequences of the Powder Gangers' actions. Less and less people are taking this route towards New Vegas. Next to the camp, we have an irradiated pool of water that sits at the bottom of the sewage pipe, or more of a drain pipe, not really sewage. And then we can see Prim off in the distance, and here's the location. Now, I did find something interesting that I don't really remember. If we head further south of the camp to here on the map, we can find a little ditch, and if you follow this ditch, it leads to a radiated patch of water, and underneath this car, we can find a doctor's bag, a magazine, and some fixer. And I just thought this was really interesting. It's something I never really remembered, but it would probably be useful in a new playthrough of New Vegas, and there's no enemies here, so I thought it was just kind of an interesting place that's easy to get some good loot. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. What do you guys normally do with the Powder Gangers? For me, I'm usually villains with them, but hey, maybe you have something else. Also, the Powder Gangers at Vault 19 stay cooperative, even if you turn against the Powder Gangers at the NCR Correctional Facility. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any recommendations for the next video, please post them in the comment section below. Until next time.